welcome to another episode of Making Mindset Matter with me, your host, Lorna McKenna. If you haven't already done so, please do click the subscribe or follow button so you can be notified when a new episode comes out each week. So today's episode, I'm going to dive into why does mindset matter? And this is an episode I've thought about doing for a few weeks now, and it makes sense. We're 10 episodes in. This is episode number 11, and I've still not talked about why does mindset matter. And the podcast is called Making Mindset Matter. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about why does mindset matter and touch upon what is mindset, why it matters, how it shapes the way we look at our experiences in life, and then I'm just going to touch upon the two different types of mindset, which is fixed versus growth, and touch upon the aspects of my journey and how I've shifted my mindset, just to give you some examples. But before I get stuck into today's episode, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that has listened so far, because in the last week, the podcast Making Mindset Matter hit a huge milestone of 100 individual listeners. So I thank each and every one of you that has taken your time to listen to this podcast so far, because to have impacted over 100 people that have listened to me talk about different topics of mindset is really, really incredible, and I'm super grateful for every single one of you. And announcement number 2 is, on the back of last week's episode of how to deal with feeling overwhelmed, I am doing a free live training and masterclass on dealing with overwhelm and how to overcome it. So there is a link in the show notes, which that's going to be on Wednesday, 18th of August. So if you are interested in joining the live training, just fill in the application form and I will be in touch before Wednesday. But that being said, I am going to get stuck into today's episode of why does mindset matter, and touch upon that why I believe mindset matters. So mindsets are important because they're the means through the way we process and reprocess the events in our life. So your mindset, in my opinion, matters because it's how we process and how you process and I process the events that happen in our life, and it shapes our emotional experiences. And depending on what mindset you sit in, fixed or growth, which I'll dive a bit deeper into, will really sort of experiences really sort of shapes our experiences and how the events that happen to us. And depending on where you sit along the mindset scale of how you view certain things, whether it be challenges, obstacles, feedback, all these different kind of things can ultimately shape your daily experience of life. It affects the self-talk that we have. It affects our self-belief and our attitudes and our feelings towards ourselves and to other events that occur around us. I never actually understood the power of the mind, and our mind really is the most powerful thing that we own. We are the creators of our reality. We can shape our daily experience of life depending on the mindset that we're in and the way, like I said, we process the events and the experiences that happen around us. Mindsets are so important to us, and our own personal mindset is something that I never understood the importance of working on. I never understood what even mindset work was until I embarked on my self-growth journey last year, when I really threw myself into mindset work and realised actually by being able to change the perspective of how I viewed certain scenarios in life and the situations that was happening around me and how I viewed things, I could really impact my experience of life and gone from someone who was quite negative thinking in a negative mind frame to someone that now is very positive and optimistic and looks for the good in things, is because I've been able to change my mindset. So I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I'm super positive all the time, because there is still days that I'm human. I don't feel very optimistic sometimes, and that's fine because I'm human. I know that sometimes not every day is a good day, but there really is good in every day, and it's just about how you reframe, how you look at things. And if you are sat listening and you are thinking, I'm not sure if my mindset's a certain way, or there is things about the way you view certain things that you would like to change, I just want to let you know you can change. Just by having the awareness and knowing of the two mindsets I'm going to talk about, you can start and think where you want to maybe change the way of how you think or react to different circumstances in new ways. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, it's super easy and it's going to happen overnight, because that isn't the case. That's not the reality. Working on your mindset is an ongoing project. It's something I do mindset work daily. I constantly reinforce the new beliefs and challenge the new way I think in order to be able to really like shape the experiences that I have in life. And you can change, but like I said, it doesn't happen overnight, and I think that's just with any aspect of a growth journey, and I just want to touch upon it. We don't get to thinking and acting the way that we do overnight. So for example, for 25 years, when I first did my mindset journey, for 25 years I'd thought one way. So to then have embarked on a mindset journey and expected things to change overnight, it just wasn't possible. It took me a solid 7 months of working on my mindset daily before I actually could physically notice a change myself in my mindset. And it's only now when I approach certain events and I watch the change in how I've reacted to them, I really am able to reinforce how far I've actually grown and how my mindset has shifted as well. But I just want to just sort of reinforce that just by having the awareness of the two mindsets I'm going to speak about can start to help you change and refocus your experiences of life. But just remember, it is a journey. The journey is the goal, and you can change, but it just takes time. And just by even just starting, you're already there, on the way there. So just be patient with yourself, make the commitment, and just go for it. But you can train yourself, because the mind, like the brain, is a muscle. Like any muscle, it can be trained. But just like I said, just remember that you may not wake up every day feeling super, super positive all the time, but it's just about having the ability just to embrace the emotions that you feel. Like, we're all human, but by having like a more positive outlook on life and being more optimistic, and having, like I said in episode 8 where I talked about having the attitude of gratitude, by just having that attitude of gratitude and being able to be like grateful for what you have and being in that abundant mindset instead of looking at what we haven't got and being in this scarcity mindset, by being able to look at the positive and be able to look at what you have, really can, that just that one practice alone of expressing gratitude can change your experience of life, because gratitude is such a high vibrational state. And I've got an episode coming out on Thursday, which is, I spoke with, we've got a guest episode, one of the first interviews of Making Mindset Matter, and we talk about the importance of gratitude in that, so watch out for that coming out on Thursday. But like I said, there is two different types of mindset, fixed versus growth, and Dr. Carol Dweck in her book Mindset talks about the two different mindsets of fixed versus growth. And like I said earlier on, just by having the knowing and the awareness of these two mindsets, you can start thinking about, when I talk about each of these points, how do you embrace the things that I'm going to speak about next, and just sort of think, where do you sit upon the scale? Because it is a spectrum, you can be parts of each, but where is it that you would like to improve? So having a fixed mindset a lot of the time means that you find things static. So for example, challenges. So people who may sit within a fixed mindset would avoid challenges, where if you have a growth mindset, you embrace challenges. So the difference between that, avoiding challenges, I'm going to talk about in the most simple terms, would be sitting in a comfort zone, sitting in that place where you don't want to embrace anything that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. And I can honestly say this is where I sat for so long. I didn't like pushing myself because the thought of challenging myself on thinking, what if things went wrong? It just scared me. But when I realised actually that growth comes from being outside that comfort zone and pushing through those barriers and being able to embrace the challenges that happen and know that it's an opportunity for growth, and feeling that fear and just going for it, like I talked in episode 1 of the podcast, of feeling the fear and just doing it anyway, I realised actually that embracing challenges it's scary, it's uncomfortable, but it's in that discomfort is where we grow the most as a person and where we actually see the biggest difference. The second thing she talks about is obstacles. So people with a fixed mindset view obstacles as something that gets in the way. They give up easily. But people with a growth mindset persist in the face of setbacks. So what that is basically saying that if you face a challenge, how are you embracing that challenge? Do you, for example, if something goes wrong and something doesn't go as planned, do you just give up? Or do you actually just pause for a second, reflect and think, how can I move forward instead? I've spoken about my physical development journey a lot because obviously that's been a huge part of my growth journey. So as an example, probably the easiest way I can do this is when I was first embarking on my fitness journey, let's say, I had been in such a yo-yo state of dieting prior to that. So when saw things that came up as an obstacle, say, or I couldn't stick to it, I would literally just give up. Or the diet's not working, I've tried it for a week, because that was just like the mindset I was in. I was like, oh, I'll just give up, it's not working, not realising actually that if things crop up, I just needed to persist because it's the consistency and how we move forward. And sometimes life isn't plain sailing, things are going to pop up. So it's either you give up at the first hurdle or you pause and you persist forward in the face of the setbacks. Another thing that she talks about is criticism. And how do you view it? And I spoke about this quite in depth in episode 4 of when I talked about the importance of feedback. I used to be the person with this fixed mindset around criticism because how you view criticism, I used to view it, and I've spoken about this before, like if anybody tried to criticise me, I literally would go on the attack. I wouldn't see it as actually like someone maybe saying something of value in order to help. I was just in such a defensive mode that I would literally just bite someone's head off at the thought of criticism, because I thought by someone criticising me or trying to give me feedback, I thought it was literally criticising me, and that is actually a reflection on how I felt about myself. Now I realise I didn't used to hold myself in a very high opinion, and if anybody tried to provide me with criticism or feedback, for example, I just saw it as a negative. Whereas people with a growth mindset look at criticism and they learn from it. What can I learn from this? And that's the difference. How you view criticism, and I don't really like to use the word criticism, how you view feedback, because that's what it is. If someone is bringing something into your awareness, they're giving you some form of feedback. So it's up to you how you view that. Do you view it as a way that someone is literally having a personal attack on you, which is where I was at? Or do you actually, when someone gives you feedback, do you take it on board? Do you look at what they've brought into your awareness and think, do they have a point? Is there something that I need to improve on? Is there a way that I can actually improve on what I'm doing? Is it that I can be more efficient at doing something? Is it that I just need to learn a skill? And being able to learn and constantly grow and be able to master or craft something how do you view the criticism that people give you or the feedback that people give you? So I just want you to sort of like sit and think, if someone was to give you feedback or to say give you constructive criticism, let's say, do you view it as a negative or do you view it as an opportunity to learn and grow? And that's the difference between the two mindsets of having it that way. Another thing she talks about is effort. So people with a fixed mindset see putting effort in as like sort of a bit like worthless, and they think, why do I need to put effort into something? Because if it takes effort, it must not be worthwhile. Whereas people with a growth mindset see effort as the path to being able to master something, the path to continuous improvement. So it's just, how do you view the amount of effort? Do you see something as it's not worth putting effort into, or do you see actually the effort that I'm putting out in now is going to pay off in the long run? I'm going to be able to get to where I want to be quicker, or not even so quicker, but in a better state. I'm going to be better at what I do. And the last thing she talks about is the success of others. Because people who are in that fixed mindset of when they see the success of others, they feel threatened by it. They look at it in a negative light. How many times, I've said it before, I worked on my mindset and realised actually the effort people put in to be successful, I would look at people and think, oh, they've been lucky. They've not had to put any work in. Or they've had this reason or that reason of why they've got to where they were, not realising that actually like that was my mindset and I was viewing that in a negative way because I was seeing something and being like, how have they managed that really? And I can't do that. And so it's easier to put someone down than it is to look at them and think, wow, I want to be able to do that. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, you look at what people have achieved and it tells you what is possible. You find the lessons and inspiration in the success of others and you think, if they can do it, so can I. So it's just, how do you view the success of others? Do you look at them and think, though, that person must be lucky, they must have had X, Y, Z, I don't know, I'm trying to think like X, Y, Z, that's the reason that they've been successful, not that they've possibly put in loads of hard work? Or do you look at someone being successful and think, gosh, like, wow, that is impressive. I would love to know how they've done it. Like, what inspiration can I take for it so I can carve my own path to be successful? So they're the difference between the two mindsets of having fixed versus growth. And I just want you to sit and reflect. And obviously I've got some journal prompts, as always. What would be an episode of Making Mindset Matter without some journal prompts at the end? We all know I love a bit of journaling. But I just want you to sit and think from a place of pure awareness, like in each of these areas, like how are you viewing your experiences of life? So from challenges, would you say you embrace challenges or do you avoid challenges? With obstacles, do you give up early? Or do you persist in the face of setbacks? With criticism, do you ignore useful negative feedback and do you see it as a personal attack or someone's having a go at you? Or do you see it as an opportunity that actually there's an area I need to improve on and I can learn from this? With effort, do you see effort as being worthless and there's not much point in it because you're not going to get there? Or do you see it as, actually, if I put the effort in now, and the consistency and the long-term results, I will get to where I want to be? And when you're viewing the success of others, do you actually like feel threatened by it? Do you think how that they've done this because of X, Y, Z? Or do you actually look at the lessons that person could have had and do you find inspiration of it and realise actually if they can do it, then so can I? And one thing I just want to like quickly touch upon before I give the journal prompts is that I have learned, and it's probably been one of the most eye-opening things that I've learned about how you view certain situations, and it's the mirror analogy. And the mirror analogy basically means the way you react to something or you find something maybe annoying about somebody that annoys you, or you view something and you have like a negative response, it's actually a reflection of something we need to work on in ourselves. And this was the biggest realization I had when I realized actually like the power of the mind, and like why our mindset actually matters, and how actually it does shape things. So for example, if you react to somebody posting, say, something on social media, and I'm just going to use this as an example because it's something that I can like relate to, speak about. So say, for example, someone posts something, I don't know, I did a video of me dancing one time and I thought, God, are people going to think I look stupid? And then I realised, actually, is it because if people did think I look stupid, is it because they think I don't have the confidence to post that? Or is it because they actually think I look stupid? So there's a difference between how we react to things. And a lot of the times when we react to certain things, it's because it's something either we need to work on, or it's, something that we as individuals need to work on because it's shined a light on something. And that's what the mirror analogy is about. It's about you reflecting experiences that happen. I will probably go into a bit more depth on another episode. I'm conscious this episode is getting quite long now, but I will go into that in further detail in another episode about the mirror analogy and about reflection, because I think it's super important. But like I said, it wouldn't be a Making Mindset Matter podcast without some journal prompts. So prompt number 1 is, do I have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? And I want you to look at the 5 things I spoke about, and then what can I do to improve my growth mindset? Prompt number 2 is, what does the word challenge mean? And do I welcome challenges or do I dread them? Journal prompt number 3 is, what are the 5 things I am really good at, and how can I improve and become better at these things? And prompt number 4 is, how do I feel about change, and how can I turn change into opportunity? And I should have said before that was pause, mate. Get your pens and papers out and write these down and do them in your own time. And I just really want you to reflect on how you view these different areas from a place of awareness, and try not to like judge yourself, because just by, like I said, you can change your mindset just by knowing the 2 mindsets, and you start thinking about the way that you react to things in new ways, then you can really start changing your experience of life. So I am going to wrap up today's episode. I'm just going to recap. Our mindset is what helps us process and reprocess the events of our life. It matters because it shapes our emotional experiences. It matters because it shapes the way that we act and feel in our daily life, our beliefs, our attitudes, our feelings towards ourselves. And like I said, the mind is the most powerful thing that we own. So it's important that we nurture it, and we can change it. And just by knowing the 2 different mindsets of fixed versus growth is enough to know that actually you can see opportunities to change and opportunities to present yourself. So I am going to leave it there and just let you just sort of sit and think. In the things that I touched upon about the fixed versus growth, like, where do I sit along that scale? What is it that I would like to improve? And but that is it for today's episode. If you haven't already done so, like I said at the start, please do like or follow so you can be subscribed when a new episode comes out each week. Obviously, I always love to connect with people. So if you have enjoyed this episode and you think it would be beneficial to other people, please do share it on your social media. If you share it on Instagram, tag me at @LornaMcKenna_. I'm always interested to know what your biggest takeaways are. So please do. But that being said, here is to making your mindset truly matter.